I'm now going to bring Hein Velema on stage to bring his speakers on stage and talk about M&A. I'm going to sit in the audience and watch and maybe throw a few grenades into the mix. And Hein, the floor is yours.
Yeah, but I have a question for you to start with. Because we're going to talk about mergers and acquisitions.
Yeah.
What is your view on that after these 2 days?
I think what's interesting is I hear stories on a regular basis about M&A activity. I get involved in certain projects with investors or banks, etc., who want to buy or understand the market. In a way, if we can make our industry more investable, we become a better business. Because I think this is the thing, we talk all the time about slim margins, weak profitability, bad capital exposure. It's just like, we've got to start growing up and becoming part of a future business that actually has, like Chuck Cashman's here from probably the most important company in the market today that's really making a difference. So
but you just sold your company, of your activity.
I've sold this event to the let's say, they are the curators and the holders of this event at the moment. From my point of view, investing in this market is something we haven't done well over the years. We've seen deals go sour. I'm sure Tommaso will talk about it. Deals have gone bad. But we need to make sure this industry becomes truly strong, stable, investable. So if people like Wise come into the market, or Deloitte are talking to investors about stuff in the market, the information's clear. How good are we at doing it?
I'd like to invite the panel. Thank you very much, Martin. Please come up. This is Bruno Marago from Wise Equity. It's Chuck Cashman from MarineMax, and we have Tommaso Nastasi from Deloitte.
Hello.
What we're going to do, we're going to show you numbers and things, but we're not going to talk about numbers. So the people that are really interested in numbers and figures, we have lots of nice visuals for you to watch. What we try to do is to create a discussion for the information behind the numbers and behind what is happening. There's a big thing happening in our market in terms of mergers and acquisitions. We all know about some deals that have been done recently. Royal Huisman just found another investor. Sunseeker has been sold. There are stories about LVMH is buying Riva. A lot of things are happening. We know also about deals that we might not be able to discuss, but we know that they are cooking. Unfortunately, we're not going to discuss that today, but that is also very exciting. But a lot of things happening. And what we try to do is in this 45 minutes that we have, is to give you a little bit of insight. What is it and what is the thinking behind the investors? What type of investors are we talking about? And how can that change our industry? And should it change our industry? Or should we be afraid of it because it's going to change all the things that we love? Or is it maybe the solution for all the problems that we have? Well, we're going to wait and see. This is what we're going to do today. There are different types of deals that are done in mergers and acquisitions. Tommaso, I'd like to ask you the question. We have here a beautiful thing about the three types of deals, three types of buyers, you could say.
Yeah, actually, we try to see when you can look at the M&A, you can have a different type of the bidder. No? So it's important to consider which kind of bidder are, let's say, are making the deals. So the long story short, from our view, there are three types. One is the yachting, the strategic, let's say, the buyer coming from the industry, so meaning a yachting, let's say, company looking at to make new deals with other target companies in the yachting. Other deal coming from companies, coming from different sectors, they looking at to entering in the yachting market in order to diversify the portfolio business. And then it's very important to see the penetration coming from the financial. Let's say it could be the private equity, family office, the real estate fund. So meaning financial sponsors supporting the growth or the turnaround of the yachting company.
Yeah, so we have three different types of buyers, you could say. One is a yachting company buying a yachting company, and we have a great example here on stage. How important is M&A acquiring business for your strategy?
It is. It's a key part of our strategy, right? We look for growth organically, and you get growth organically when you buy a company or when you run a company, and that'll always be part of our strategy. However, and it's never been more apparent than when you walk outside these rooms and sit in the lobby. When you acquire a superyacht company, you acquire a company that is in this segment. Really, what you're acquiring is people. I mean, it's a people business, and it is so apparent to me. You get out there, there's 25 years of relationships out there that you can't grow that in the time frame that you want to grow it. And to me, this is my first time here, and it makes me feel great for the companies that we have acquired, because we retain the people, which is the most important asset that you get. The financials come with the people. But the relationships, the depth of knowledge, all of that is the goal that you're looking for.
Can you give us an indication of, in the last 5 years, how many companies did you buy? Well, not only talking in the superyacht sector, but because as MarineMax in total, can you give a?
I'll pull a number, maybe 15 to 20, of various sizes. That's probably in our wheelhouse, maybe a couple more. Through the COVID years, there was a lot of movement. There was a lot of things going on. We were generating a ton of cash. Money was cheap. Companies were making historic profits. And if you think about acquisition, right? If you're a seller, you want to sell when you're making a lot of money. And as a buyer, it's easier to buy when you're making a lot of money. So there was a lot of deals that were made in that time frame. And again, it wasn't about the money, but it's about maybe the fluidity of the deal, that we didn't mind paying the multiple that we paid because we were doing pretty well. And they didn't mind getting the number that they got because they knew that they were selling it on really good, solid profits.
Yeah.
So
if you look at the total markets in the yachting world, so we're not only talking about superyachts, this is yachting in general. So we have close to 600 deals in the last few years. If you would compare that, Tommaso, with the yachting M&A market and the general M&A market, how does that relate to each other?
Yeah, 2 points from my side. First of all, you can see a good pipeline, because honestly, to think about 600 deals on the yachting, it's a big number, guys, honestly. Number 2 message is, if we look at the performance on 22, we see a growth of the yachting market was very good, because we are looking at 10% growth of pipeline deals compared with the global M&A, where they had a drop around 30%. So meaning the yachting market in 22 has very good deals in pipeline. In 23, the trends is, let's say, it's in line with the global market. Other message I think it's important is the current trading performance, because if you see on the left part of the slide, on the right part, you see the current trading year to date of the 24 compared with the 23. We see a flat market, so meaning for the future, the outlook is positive, because we see a recovery on the M&A deals within the yachting market.
And it all has to do, as Chuck just told us, also, for example, with the interest rates.
Yeah, I think...
and other economic...
Yeah, because we see from Deloitte many deals, also yachting, other industry and so on. We talk with corporate, private equity, financial sponsors, etc., etc. I have to tell you, in the second part of the year, we have seen more pipeline coming from private equity also to make new deals.
Yeah.
So again, I think 24 could be good year for recovery. Why not 25 can be an interesting year for the M&A deals for this industry.
Yeah. So what we can see is that there are different type of investors, as we mentioned. There are corporate investors and there are financial investors. Bruno, thank you for joining us. You're representing one of the private equity companies that have purchased and again sold also one of the companies, but still owning one of them in the yachting industry. What is it for? Because I've looked at your portfolio. You have all kind of different companies and also yachting companies. Don't you think it's a little bit a weird world where we're living in?
Honestly, no, because I think that the interest in the industry should be even higher, because there are fundamentals that forecast that the growth in the medium long term will be positive. There are many that we can mention, but just to mention one, the penetration among potential customers remain quite low. And there are many factors, so both geographical concentration of wealth and also technological factors that are helping to make it safer and easier to navigate. So we do have a quite positive outlook on the industry in the medium and long term. I do believe that industry is still dealing with a badwill that was originated during 2008, because of course it was a very strong slowdown in the sector. And we need to deal with the fact that the yachting industry is a cyclical industry.
But is the yachting industry profitable enough? Because I think we are struggling with a few things in our industry, I believe. And one of them is that I believe we are not as profitable as some other industries, especially if we look at luxury industry. But is it still interesting for a private equity company to step in?
It is, because there are many ways that you can create value within yachting companies, and probably is a topic I assume that we will touch. But as soon as you get to scale, you can improve significantly those margins. And then there is also quite a lot of differences between players within the industry according on how you're able to deal with the complexity that this industry has. I think that in yachting, you have to deal with a very complicated compromise, because basically the production process is artisanal. For as good as you can be, it will remain quite artisanal. But then you need to distribute your product globally, and the customers are extremely demanding, and they're right, because they're paying a lot of money. So they're expecting the same quality out of a boat as compared with a luxury car.
Yeah, and that is, I want to talk about it a little bit later, because that's one of the issues. What you see here on this great graph that are, by the way, all coming from Tommaso with his office, and as I said, he's very good in numbers.
Thank you, Hein.
But what you can see,
That's a good thing.
what you
Good
see in this thing is that in comparison to other M&A deals, we are lacking the private equity a little bit. You know, we are behind in if you compare it with the general numbers.
Yeah.
How important is it actually? Because we have corporate investors. That's fine, no? Why do we need financial investors in our industry?
My personal view is the industry needs to have new capital, new equity, let's say, to support the growth for the next years. And also to help the companies to make the transformation of the business model. From our view, because we are working in this industry since a long time, I have to tell you, I'm working since 2002, I still see in this industry a big gap on the profitability. When we consider the discussion on margin, the margin can come from top line, from the operation, the go-to-market, different levers where this industry can make more value. And I think, honestly, the private equity could be can speed up, let's say, the process to generate a value on this industry. In the other part, there are some private equity, there are some company thinks, okay, the private equity can bring new capital, but sometimes they think the company is like an Excel model, but it's not. So we think, honestly, the outlook I see it's an increasing share of the financial sponsor coming from private equity.
But if we talk about private equity, I mean, what they do is they buy companies and they sell companies with a profit. So it's very, very short term. I'd like to hear that from Bruno, because you're a private equity company. I mean, what is the value for our industry if a private equity fund comes in and they buy a company and a few years later they sell it? What is...
Yeah,
should we be happy with that?
Well, first, let me tackle the point regarding short term, because I think that there is a huge misunderstanding in this. Of course, I mean, let me be honest, as every time we buy a company, then we need to plan for divestment. That's part of our job. But that doesn't mean that when we take strategic decision, the same time frame has to be applied to those decisions. Because honestly, if I think about other people doing my job, if they're able to be successful while being focused on the short term, I admire them. But for us, it's simply a risk that we can't accept. Because if you're building the success just in the short term, and then for any reason you're unable to sell the company within the same time, then your investment most likely will be a failure.
So you have to create the value also,
You
correct?
do.
Because it doesn't just
You do.
pop up by itself.
And as I was saying before, I think that yacht industry is very complex, so because the product is all the difficulties that we mentioned before. So I do think that one of the solutions is bringing the business to scale, but for industrial reasons. So first of all, as many industrial solutions you're able to bring within your production, that will, in my opinion, unleash value. And this is not only about production processes, it's also about how you develop products. So you develop products with an industrial approach in mind. And then there is another huge topic, at least two, I would say. The first one is how you deal with distribution, because there are many ways of go-to-market strategy. You can go mostly with dealers, or you can go direct in some cases. But in any case, you need to. There are many ways and also creative ways to manage the relationship with your customer, being dealers or final customers. And then I think there is also a third area where you can create a lot of value, because again, going back to the luxury cars example, the customers in this industry are used to get that kind of communication, the communication of from companies that are spending millions in the way they communicate with their customers. So you need to do the same with significantly lower resources.
What you're trying to do is to bring the company to a higher level in those three aspects.
Which I like about that, to be honest with you. You know, when you think about our industry, we're a very tight group, right? To bring some smart people into it that have money, I'm not afraid of that. I mean, we need more smart people, and we need more capital in our industry, and we're fine to compete with that. It's not an unfair advantage. It's not an unlevel playing field. But if somebody can come in here and help us do it better, why wouldn't we open our eyes to that, right? Even if it is for, look, we all have a goal in mind, and it's really to make money. We're all trying to make a living in this industry, right? And some of it is for the long term. And you know, we try to never sell anything that we buy because we want to keep building it. Some of it we should have sold 20 years ago. Maybe we needed a little private equity in our DNA. We just don't have it. But to watch people come in and buy a business and turn it around and see what's on the other side, that's good for our industry, I think.
But you are, as you said, you have a different approach. You're buying companies to keep them. You bought Fraser Yachts, you bought Northrop & Johnson, other yacht management companies, and of course, marinas. What is your goal with that? Because you're creating what I believe is one of the largest service companies in the superyacht industry.
Well, it's global domination.
Global domination. Thank you.
It's no, look, and there's room for everybody in our world.
Yeah.
I don't want to lose a customer. I want the customer for life. We got into the superyacht business because our customer outgrew us, and they would shake my hand and they said, "Chuck, we've known you for 20 years. We love you, but we're going to go buy a bigger boat from somebody else because you guys don't know it." So
but you're building quite a big company, you know. We had so many other discussions over the last 2 days here about including yacht management. There are lots of companies that are much smaller, and they call themselves boutique, you know. And then you're building these very big companies. Are you not afraid to lose the customer?
At 225 boats, let's say our yacht management fleet is 225 boats. That is boutique.
Yeah.
Let's not kid ourselves. If it's 6 boats or 200 boats in the world, it's boutique. There's no advantage to any customer for us to be the biggest. It's to be the best. I want to be as boutique as it gets.
Yeah.
With scale. Because now I can hire the best people
in the world.
And
how can scale help you to be the best?
Because you have more revenue coming in. You have more revenue coming in.
And how do you spend that money then to be the best?
Invest it back into the people and the systems, and then you get more revenue. And at the end of the day, it starts to spread, which you'll know, right? I mean, it's very, very simple, but you've got to get that.
Scale is also driver for the margin, no? Because if you have, let's say, the right scale,
Yeah,
you are able
yeah,
right.
because
to make
I have
also
actually
more
a question.
profit.
I have a
This is-
question here for,
No?
for
Yes.
people in the audience. We're talking about scale. I'm wondering how many people, and please raise your hand, are working in a company with less than 50 employees.
50.
50. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is one of the things that we're talking about.
Yep.
We are a very fragmented industry with a lot of smaller companies. And yeah, some people think, I have a huge company, I have 30 people, but let's be honest, it's still a small company. One question is, can you get too big? You said, no, I'm not too big. I need that money to invest to get the quality. Can you also be too small for this industry?
It's a loaded question for the group in here. No, I don't think so. I think that there's challenges to being big and there's challenges to being small, and they're different challenges. But in the eyes of the customer, you want to be the best. And if you are small or big, but best in the eyes of the customer, you'll win. And it sounds cliche-ish, but that's not the way it is. We don't sell anything saying we're the biggest. We want to be the best. We want to provide you financial stability. We want to provide you the best resources, and we want to provide the trust and the benefit of doing business with us. To me, big or small, it doesn't matter.
But you're having two strategies. Yeah? You're doing one thing is you're buying more companies of the same, but you're also have a diversification because you also go in. You have dealerships.
We do.
Well, that's
Which is our core, right?
Which is the core business. And then brokerage is very similar to that. But then, of course, you have yacht management, what is different than brokerage. And then you have marinas.
Yep.
And how does that work together? Does that make sense?
Well, it's a big challenge ahead of us, right? We acquired IGY Marinas, the biggest acquisition that we've ever done in our history. Large acquisition, Superyacht Marinas. If we can't figure out how to get our customers to go to our marinas, then shame on us. Otherwise, we just bought an asset. But if we can get our customers now to utilize our marinas to give them enhanced services, possibly, right? Where a Fraser customer, a Northrop & Johnson customer, a MarineMax customer goes into an IGY marina and they get a special experience, then we get that stickiness with the customer that we strive for, right? We just want to serve them, right? From the beginning to the end. And it's a challenge to get them to come to the marinas because all of the things we've talked about in the forums, the captains and their, independent, autonomous nature, the captain doesn't necessarily want to go where I want him to go, but we try. But again, it's about providing a customer benefit. No benefit, you're just one of the group.
Yeah.
If I can figure out how to provide a
At the end,
benefit,
it's all about the customer. Of course, it is.
100%. And if it isn't, you're in trouble.
We go back a little bit, Tommaso, to you. There's all kind of different mergers and acquisition deals. We talked about different types of buyers, but of course there are different types of companies that people buy. But it's also a regional difference. If you look at, can you say something about that?
Yeah, if we look at the chart on the left side, we try to summarize the trends on the target company. Long story short, we can say 50% of the deal are on downstream of the value chain, considering trading, the marina, the boat clubs, and so on. 30% of the deal are mainly on upstream of the value chain, accessory components for yachting, super yacht, etc., etc. The shipyard are around 20% to 24%. But if we look at the trends, it's important also to considering the strategy in terms of the trends. No? So we see in the current trading an increasing interest going versus the shipyard, less interest on the marina, and because most of the deal maybe have done in COVID period, right? Money, and still be hot interest on the components. Other key message for the audience is if we look at the apparent strategy on the global scale, we can see a different strategy in North America respect to the Europe. Why that? Because in the North America, it's most of the deal are in downstream. And actually, most of the pipeline on downstream coming from North America. If we look at Europe, we see a big piece of the deals coming from shipyard and the components. So this is, let's say, the key message I think are very important. For the future, honestly, because I think it's important also to share our outlook here, I think we can see in one side, we say the strong interest can come from financial sponsors. In the other side, we see strong interest can be on yachts and components. This is because now...
How does that work with composites? So we talk about equipment and supplies, etc. What is it? What are investors looking for there?
Just 2 points about this question. If we look at the components company, they are looking to build a one-stop shop value proposition.
Can you explain, what do you mean by one-stop shop?
Meaning I go to talk with shipyard, and I am able to sell different kind of items.
Okay.
So meaning try to have an increasing the wallet share you do with your customer. So this what is I think the one-stop shop could be win-win deal for the seller, but also for the buyer, because this can support also the increasing for the profitability.
Yeah, what is important for shipyards is the collaboration with their suppliers. And of course, if you can concentrate that to fewer people, that would make sense. We're not going to go in all these details, but I want to go back to talk about the private equity. How much, we talked earlier, well, we started the day with sustainability as a very important topic. We talked about owners' experiences. What is the new generation expecting from us? What are investors expecting from us in terms of sustainability? Is that an issue, or is that more... How do you look at that?
Well, there are different perspectives. First one is, yes, I think that everybody is expecting that the industry will give some answers. So definitely, but that is more in the general context of investments where this is a factor that has to be taken into consideration. So the first answer is definitely yes. We need to think about solution and offer the solutions to the market. Then there is, let's say, the more business-related aspect. Because in considering this factor, we need to be honest and saying that customers in this industry are not the most sensitive to the topic. The sensibility is growing, but still not as high as in other industry. And maybe it's also right, because if you look at the total emissions of the sector, it's not that huge. At least the one coming out from the use of boats. Then there is a huge topic that I think that we should question ourselves a lot about is the hand life of products, because that is probably the most relevant answer that we should give, I think, in the next years.
But sustainability is also very strongly related to innovation.
It is. That is again, as I was saying, there are different perspectives. If you look at the emissions and the sensitivity of the customer, it's a thing. If you look at the innovation that is needed within the industry, that is another topic, and it's huge, I would say, because I think that is also one of the factors that help this industry growing, because making navigation safer and easier, it's a way that can attract a lot of customers, especially in geographies where maybe the culture is not there yet, so the culture of boating is not as popular as in Europe and US, for example. That is a solution that can really help. And again, going back to the topic of before, scale is something that can help you to heavily invest in development of products.
And services, because it's a product that, because what you are just mentioning is convenience is important also. And that's one of the issues we have in our industry is you know, those yachts are very beautiful, great, but the ownership is sometimes painful. It's not always the luxury experience that we sell. You know, we create these big white yachts that are a big symbol, but when you own it, suddenly, you know, you see all kind of issues happening. And is M&A, is scale a solution for that, or can it help? Or
well, certainly scale can help, but it is, I think it's probably one of the biggest challenges that's always existed in our industry is the many people have said it over the course of the last 2 days, the boat is the most emotional purchase of your life. It's where you take your loved ones and your family to go have the best times of your life. And when it doesn't perform, it's the opposite, right? Now it's one of the worst times. So it's so polarizing when it doesn't perform the way it's supposed to. So yeah, I mean, it's a challenge. Scale can help, certainly, but just like saying, look, resources help. Not because you have better resources, you just have, maybe they're deeper, maybe you have a wider net to throw, but I know there's people in here with small companies that have tremendous resources to solve problems as they go. But if you're not working on that, if we're not working on making the ownership experience better, then I really think you're at risk. I mean, that is that But I don't worry about how to sell more boats, how to do more. We worry about how to make that experience better for a customer so that they want to buy the next one.
I have another question for the audience. Are there any, can everybody raise their hand that owns a business owners? How many people do we have?
Good.
See?
Good.
You can all buy them.
Well, 600 acquisitions, we're way behind. I mean, we haven't done our job.
No, but could you give an advice to people that are sitting here in the audience that think, they have their business, they're building their business. Some are small, some are a little bit bigger. Some people might have a son or a daughter that can take over the business, others don't. If they think about mergers and acquisitions, maybe can I sell my company? Do you have any suggestions or advices? Or when is it interesting? Are we talking about very big companies or smaller companies? And what is it if you say, I have a great company and I want to sell it in 10 years' time? What do I need to do between now and 10 years?
What I would say is hire the best people, develop the best culture, run the business the best you can, make as much money as you can doing it so that when it's time to sell, it's kind of like painting your house before you put it on the market. I mean, it's have a cup for us anyway. We buy businesses that are healthy. So we look for healthy businesses. I don't want to be a turnaround company. We want to buy healthy businesses that will gladly pay a multiple and expect a return. And hopefully somehow we can improve on that. But I mean, to say run a good business is kind of, I don't want to seem trivial in that, but run a good business, have good people, make it so, if the principal is the shining star of the organization and he says, here's the keys to my company, I'm going to retire, well, that's a different kind of buyer. That's not us. And that may not be you the way I see you acknowledge it,
How
right?
does it work for you?
No, I love what Chuck said before. It's a people business. So in term of advices, I don't feel in the position to give advices to business owners. But what we love to do and what we love to observe in the companies in which we invest is investment. So heavy investments in production process and production facilities, and investment in people. And this is another probably huge topic within the industry because there is a lack of offer of skillful resources. So there is a huge need to invest in training people, sometimes taking them outside of the industry, and that's really painful sometimes. So yeah, definitely this.
We have not much time left, but I would like to see if somebody has a burning question. Can we have somebody with a mic? And
while they're doing that, I'll add one thing. Just succession planning is probably the one area that we just don't see enough of. That, if you've got that next person that's moving along, that helps with the continuity of the business, right?
Yeah.
For a buyer of anybody, if there's somebody to.
Hi, everybody. This is such an interesting topic. I think we could cover this at almost every boat show and still have new information. But what I'm interested in, I love the fact that it's mainly yachting services and trades that have been sold, because I'll never forget when I sold Crew Network to Fraser Yachts 15 years ago. It seemed that was incredibly creative at the time, and now obviously it's one of the biggest trends in yachting. But my question,
were you happy when you sold it?
I was kind of forced into it, Hein, you know that. Yeah, in the long run, I was extremely happy. At the beginning, of course, I was really nervous. If it happened now in the atmosphere that we have in the yachting industry in terms of, acquisitions and sales and everything, I think I would be much happier. it just seemed a little crazy at the time. But anyway, I do have a question. How do you, those of you on the panel, Chuck in particular, your acquisitions have been so varied and really, really interesting. How does one choose what kind of company you're going to go after, and how do your business sectors that you have put together make sense? Are they working well?
Well, so great question. They work well for us. You know, we look at it as spokes in a wheel with the customer in the center, and in areas that we serve the customer, if we can enhance it, improve it, or grow it, we'd look at an acquisition there. If we see a lane or a spoke that we don't serve, we would look at that. Although we weigh out some of the investment versus return type thing, and there's a couple areas left unserved that we look at, and we just can't quite get the business plan around. But I mean, we really start with the customer in the lifetime. I don't want to say ownership because nobody owns a customer, but the life cycle of a customer. And we'll take them from the smallest boat to the biggest and down, and in the middle there's tenders and there's services, both management services and physical services. So all of that enters into what we look at, and then balanced with healthy, profitable businesses that culturally fit in our company. So it's not super complicated
Do we
from
have
the inside.
Yeah,
time for one more question?
Yeah, just maybe also can add on just what you said. Other two key elements, I think, are synergies and value creation plan. Because when you make a deal, let's say coming from corporate to corporate, sometimes I think to have a good synergy plan and to have also the right and full thesis for value creation, it's crucial in order to supporting the valuation and the deal. So these are two suggestions I would like to share in this room.
We have another financial institution with a question.
Yes, thank you very much for your presentation. So, considering that I'm a banker and we are also taking care of M&A transaction on the buy side and the sell side, I have one question and one comment. The first comment is, usually when we buy or we sell a company, is usually for creating a value for the shareholders. So this is something that we need to understand. So that's why we either create or we increase the market share, or we organize and we buy a company in order to develop a kind of horizontal or vertical integration. Having said that, when I see your various figures, it seems that all the M&A transactions are inside the sector. I was wondering if you have seen some transaction coming from outside the sector, for instance, the hospitality business. Thank you.
Maybe two points on your question. First of all, if we look at the total pipeline deals on the yachting, we see 10% of the deal coming from other industries. And I have to tell you, if we consider the sector where they come, most coming from service and hospitality. In terms of apparent strategy of this kind of bidders, most of the time they would like to make investment on downstream. So meaning the classic path is the hospitality, try to make a deals on the marina. Okay, this is the classic path. In the future, why not? I see more interest coming from holding companies entering in the yachting. Just the last one was the Calcedonia Group from fashion apparel. They decided to make a diversification on the portfolio in the yachting market. Why not the luxury companies like I'm sure about
LVMH.
Right, they can invest. So I see more interest on this sector, but it's important also to be, let's say, very managerial to do it, because sometimes the industry has some gap about how we approach the deal. And it's not only to show numbers, it's also try to leverage which are my distinctive factors in the market. So scale is important, performance is important, but I think it's important also to show an advantage competitive toward your competitors. And this can help to generate deals.
Well, thank you very much, because I think that's a good ending of this. We have a very short version, but because we have a good next one, you have a... Yeah, you can ask a question.
Thank you. I'm going to, just to pivot a little bit, I know time is short, but there's just, Tommaso, you mentioned Calzedonia and people like that. How many deals are done and what I call individual investors who are passionate about yachting, rescuing companies or jumping into companies which are not necessarily real M&A deals?
You can see on the left side.
He's very happy with the question because it's 5%. It's on the sheet.
It seems to be one of the most interesting parts of our market where people get sucked into deals by accident in some cases, which aren't necessarily real or quality deals.
Martin,
and I think it's a problem we have.
Honestly, Martin, this is a very good question, honestly, and thank you so much for this. I can articulate the answer into two ways. If I look at the past, I see many boat owners, super yacht owners, they making a deal for new build, then I don't know why the shipyard has some problem, okay, and they make the acquisition. Yeah. In the future, I see less it. So I see more professional deals into this market. Yeah. The second point is, if we look at the cake, now I see private investors are, let's say, penetrated around it's a small piece. I think now I have seen also during the last show in Monaco, strong interest coming from family office. Now we are talking with 5 big family office, especially in the US. They have strong interest on the yachting. And they ask us, please, can you help me? Which are the most important segment where you see the growth for the future. So I see more, let's say, more professional investors coming into the industry, less the classic path, I am the boat owner, you are in difficult, and I will make, let's say, the deal.
Yeah. And just one for Chuck as well, sorry.
We are very strict with the schedule here.
I'm allowed to do this.
I'm allowed
to do this. I've been given special treatment here. Listen, Chuck, I'm going to ask you a question because I think what you've done as Marine Max in the super yacht market has changed the landscape. You've raised our profile on the markets in a way that we've never been exposed before. So in a way, you're changing the game, which is a really positive thing for our marketplace. Is that fair?
I hope so. Well, I hope it's positive. I hope it's positive, right? It's a goal, right? We want to be a influential player in the market. Our core is customer service, take care of the team, take care of the customer. So yeah, I would hope that we're doing it.
Only because it's like when you talk to institutions in the cities like New York or London, etc., we had a stigma attached to our market, but now big players like you or Safe Harbor or other buying assets or companies, it changed the image, which is a good thing.
No, I'll agree, right? If you think about this industry, it's not for the faint of heart, right? When you think about outside people coming in, it's there may be better ways to get a return on your investment, make money, but there also is amazing opportunity within the industry for smart people to come in and figure out how to do it better.
To do it better.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. That's it. Sorry, Hein.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.